give a warm welcome to Carmen Emerson.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be with you today. Please keep eating. And I just, I wouldn't be a good minister if I didn't say, could we just have a moment to say, thank you for food and all the people who prepared it and brought it to you today. May your meals be blessed by all of those good works that brought food to the table today. Amen. So I'm talking today about self-compassion as self-care, and I'm going to unpack all that with you today. I want to give you a little bit of my background in addition to that, what Jennifer just shared with you. That right now, one of my roles at Baptist is to, every week, I facilitate a dementia caregiver support group. So that's one connection I have to the caregiving world. I do team member support, especially grief and bereavement, support across the system to team members. And one of the things that I notice all the time when I'm in those grief support group with our team members are how many of them are grieving people for whom they were caregivers, sometimes for many, many, many years. As Jennifer mentioned, I was a parish minister for 11 years, and there was a lot of caring for caregivers in that work in my congregations, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee. Lots of people, lots of pastoral care spent helping people who are caregivers tend their spiritual life, because that's one thing that can immediately begin to slip away, as that self-care and spiritual self-care. Right now, I'm a caregiver for my 95-year-old friend, Harry, who lives in DeLand, and we spend a lot of time on the phone every week, and I go down and spend weekends with him. So I am watching him age. His mind sharp as ever. His body is 95 years old. And so different kinds of caregiving and trying to be respectful of his autonomy, his dignity, and yet also be sure to give him help and support that he needs. And then I would say my original caregiving role when I was 12 and lived with my grandparents and cared for my grandfather, who back in those days, we called it old age, but we know now it would be Alzheimer's and dementia. I see some nodding heads of people maybe from my generation, like, yep, we just called it, that's just old age. But it was a village. Our family took care of my grandfather, and that's what we did. That's just what we did. So thank you for having me here. I'm glad to be with you today. I want to begin by talking with you about what we call whole person wellness. Because even though I'm going to focus on spiritual care, what we know is that the whole person, all of these things are intertwined and make a difference. So we know spiritual care is about making sure that you tend meaning and purpose in your life, that you live a life that reflects your most deeply held values and beliefs. So that's spiritual wellness. We know that our emotional wellness is about having a strong sense of self, having the ability to recognize and share your very wide range of feelings that come up as you're caregiving for others, and to be able to share those feelings in a constructive way. There is environmental well-being. Have you guys heard, is this a new term to you, environmental well-being? Have you heard of that before? So environmental well-being is really having an awareness of the communities of which you are a part, in which you dwell, your interconnections with other people in your family, in your neighborhood, in your church, in your work life. What are those groups and environments that you are a part of? And hopefully you find a lot of companionship and support in those places. There is financial well-being. Has anyone here ever been stressed out about money? Me too. So financial well-being is just about living within our means and managing our finances for the short term and the long term. Let me catch up here. Our social well-being is about being connected with others, managing conflict in healthy ways, and just making sure that you have a good social network of support, again, in your neighborhood, in your churches, in your synagogues, in your family. Friends, as I age, I'm learning that my relationships with friends I've had for 30 and 40 years is so precious to me, because isn't it always great to have someone that you can say, hey, remember that time? Remember when? those remember whens get really more and more important as we are aging. Our physical well-being, this one makes sense, taking care of your body for optimal health and function. And it could be as simple, physical well-being can be as simple as you probably know, 3 things I'm going to say. What do you think they are? Drink water, move your body, get enough sleep. And also I recommend going out in the sun every day, not on these hot afternoons, but at least spend a few moments in the sun. Stretch your body out, take a deep breath. That does wonders for your well-being in all of these areas. Our occupational well-being, this is about participating in interesting, meaningful work and contributing to society at large. And we know we have different ways of doing that throughout the lifespan. But just finding that way to participate and to give something inside yourself to other things, and then you see yourself inside of that. Your intellectual well-being. This is about being open to new ideas, being creative, having a capacity for critical thinking, seeking out challenges and new information, and being curious about the world of which we are a part. I think critical thinking and being curious about others is like one of the best things that we can do in our world right now, and one of the best ways that we can take care of ourselves. So we know that whole person well-being in all of these areas is really important. We also know that health in one of these areas influences your good health and well-being in all of the other areas. But again today, because I'm here as a chaplain, as a minister, to talk about your spiritual health as part of being, caring for yourself as a caregiver, I want to talk about your spiritual and emotional health. And so I want to share with you the definition of spirituality that we use at Baptist Health. And so here's what we say that spirituality is. It is the aspect of humanity that refers to the way individuals seek and express meaning and purpose, the way we experience our connections to the moment, to ourselves, and to nature, and to the significant or the sacred. So this is a big way to think about spirituality that takes it out of the realm of any particular spirituality, any particular religion. We know spirituality is that. Somebody asked me this week, how do you distinguish between religion and spirituality? And I say, for me, spirituality is that just that spirit of life and love that dwells within us, between us, among us, and beyond us. And so I like that, and I like this definition of spirituality that we use about meaning and purpose, connectedness, and significant and sacred in your life. So why is caregiver spiritual wellness important? Because you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And what I want to talk to you about today is self-compassion as self-care. So we know that caring for other people definitely brings our lives meaning and purpose, helps us feel connected to the significant and the sacred. I was talking at my table earlier, I love when this happens, the synchronicity of when things like this happen, and somebody brought up the idea of the golden rule, love others, do for others as you want done for yourself. That reminded me of the great love commandment, love others, love our neighbors as we love ourselves. And so that's what I think about when I think about self-compassion as self-care, because it's real easy to get focused on the loving others part, but the loving ourselves part is essential. Loving yourself is essential. And that part can be easily eclipsed by that never-ending to-do list that can make us sometimes feel burdened rather than inspired, can make us feel inadequate rather than purposeful, can make us feel invisible rather than connected. And I'm sure with the wisdom and experience that is in this room, there are many other things that you could add to that list of, I feel this way rather than that way. If I'm thinking about loving my neighbor as I love myself, I forget to love myself, and here are other reasons why. You'll have a chance to reflect about that later this morning. So, how do we restore that which is missing? What is that bridge between the very meaningful, purposeful, spiritual work of caring for another person and making sure that you do not completely lose yourself in the process. Again, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot give anyone else what you don't have to give. Love your neighbor, love yourself. We bridge the gap with self-compassion. Self-compassion is self-care, and it is essential to all of these areas of well-being, especially the spiritual and emotional well-being of the caregiver. So there are 3 core pillars of self-compassion that I want to introduce you to today. One of them is mindfulness. One of the core pillars is recognizing and remembering our common humanity. And one of the pillars is self-kindness. So let's talk about what mindfulness is, because people have all kinds of ideas about what mindfulness is. We can make it more complicated and more scary than it needs to be, and I think it's very simple. Being mindful is really just the practice of observing our thoughts and emotions moment to moment, and here's the important part, without judging, without avoiding, without amplifying them. It's you just merely sitting with what's happening in your mind and heart moment to moment. No judging, no self-critique, no self-judging, no avoiding it, because it will catch up. We know it catches up with you, right? No amplifying thoughts to make them get out of control. Being mindful contributes to your self-compassion by grounding you in the present moment instead of avoiding whatever you fear may be coming up, may be coming down the pike, including and especially any self-criticism for not doing things right. Have any of you ever had those moments of self-judgment where you're like, I'm not doing enough, I'm not doing it right? So having this mindfulness is just to notice those thoughts and let them fly on past and not amplify them, not give them any credence, not to be self-critical or self-judgmental about that. Does that ever happen for you? Yeah? Okay. I want to say that mindfulness really works when we keep it simple. And so here's a way just to grab a few mindful moments every day. Be comfortable and safe. Focus on your breath at your own pace. Have you ever done a breathing meditation with someone and they're like, okay, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And I'm like, wait, I'm not ready. I haven't finished the breathe in part. I can't do the breathe out part and so it gets like it's anxiety producing. Is that just me or has anyone else experienced that? Thank goodness you're shaking your heads. Yes, thank you for that grace. Yeah, so breathe at your own pace. Be comfortable, breathe at your own pace. You can do a quick body scan, a head-to-toe body scan. Just do a sweep of what you're experiencing in your body. What's the temperature in the room? What are the sounds you're hearing? What are the smells you're noticing? Feel the pressure of the chair beneath you, maybe against your back. Feel your hands resting on your knees. What is it like for you to be inhabiting your own body moment to moment? Again, just notice, but you don't have to dwell on the discomfort. Just notice it. The other thing to do during moments of mindfulness is to figure out something that you are grateful for that day. Maybe a person, maybe a pet, a place you love, a memory that comes up for you. Notice and rest in the joy of that moment. I thank my table for the interesting conversation we had before this, because one of the things that came up for me, and you may be familiar with this beautiful Mary Oliver, the poet Mary Oliver, and one of her quotes is that joy is not meant to be a crumb. Joy isn't meant to be the leftover. It is the main course. And so these practices for self-compassion help us restore those moments of joy to our lives daily. The other thing about mindfulness is that you can start small. You don't need to build a meditation room and have, a special meditation pillow and all this. Just start small. Just make it happen every day and let tend your spirit in that way to give yourself that mindful attention about who you are in that moment and rest in the joy of being who you are in that moment. The next pillar of self-compassion is remembering our common humanity. This is recognizing that all of us as human beings are works in progress. It is the work of a lifetime to be a human being. So that's part of our common humanity. We're always works in progress. We're always evolving as the persons we are becoming. Another thing about our common humanity is to remember that we all fail. We all make mistakes. We all experience hardships. We experience suffering. In every person's life, there is suffering. Pain is a part of being a human being, and no one of us is exempt from that. Again, recognizing our common vulnerability to suffering and pain is a part of our common humanity. Suffering, though, is especially corrosive to our hearts and spirits when we feel isolated in our suffering, when we don't have anyone to talk with about it. No one understands our particular struggles, especially as caregivers. Does that ever happen for you? Like, I just feel like I can't really tell anybody how I'm really feeling about this. So please don't do that to yourselves. Please make sure that you have somebody to talk to about those challenges that you're experiencing. Because caregiving is also a part of our common humanity. And as Rosalind Carter said, I love these quotes from her, there are 4 kinds of people in the world. Those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be a caregiver, those who will need a caregiver. And maybe some of us have been at multiple points on that list, simultaneously. Those who have been caregivers, people who provided care to others in the past, whether for family, friends, community members. This can include experiences such as caring for a parent, caring for your children, caring for a loved one during an illness or a disability. Those who are currently caregivers are those of you actively providing care at this moment, often due to family member or friend's health needs. This role could be full-time or part-time, and it may involve physical, emotional, and logistical support, those who are caregivers currently. Those who will be caregivers, people who are expected to take on caregiving responsibilities in the future, often because of aging parents, or children with special needs, or other life circumstances. This category reflects the inevitability of caregiving in many lives. Those who will need a caregiver. Individuals who require care at some point in the future, older adults, people with chronic illnesses, those with disabilities. This group also highlights that reciprocal nature of caregiving. I may be caregiving for this person now, but in the future I may need to rely on another person to help to caregive for me. So with this recognition that caregiving is inevitably a part of our lives, our common humanity, an important way to strengthen this pillar of self-compassion is to make sure that you are connecting with other people through your neighborhood, through counseling, through spiritual support from your faith community. Check in with your social workers at your medical appointments. Make sure that you're getting help and resources from those people to connect you with others. Again, every Wednesday I do a dementia caregiver support group we work with AgeWell at Baptist and with the guide program at AgeWell to make sure that caregivers of dementia partners get connected with this support group. So there are always many resources. All the partners who brought you this event today have wonderful resources at their table. So make sure you don't isolate yourself so that you can just be pulled into that common humanity about caregiving. The third pillar of self-compassion is self-kindness. So this is about, rather than berating ourselves for our mistakes or our human limits, can we become as caring and generous towards ourselves as we are towards those we care about? One way to do this is to offer ourselves gentle words of comfort, encouragement, forgiveness, and unconditional acceptance that we are doing our best. You are doing your best. Practice loving kindness toward yourselves. This is a gesture of tenderness and goodwill toward your own heart and spirit. You can use very simple, clear, authentic, and kind phrases and be specific about what you need. You'll notice that need is highlighted here. Dr. Kristen Neff, who teaches about the self-compassion as self-care, reminds us that our needs and our wants are two different things. So she says our wants usually are generated from the neck up. They're in our head. They originate in our head, and our wants can be infinite. But our needs are more universal, and they arise from the neck down, meaning they originate in our hearts and our spirits. So here are some examples of human needs that we have: to be accepted as we are, to be validated, to be seen, to be heard, to be protected, to be loved, to be known, to be cherished, to be connected, and to be respected. And I wish that we had time for me to go table to table and hear every one of you say, here's something that I need, because I know, again, in your wisdom and experience, you could add wonderful, marvelous things to this list about what our human needs are. So with those needs in mind, one great way to practice loving kindness would be to say very warmly to yourself, may I be courageous. May I be seen for who I truly am. May I be forgiving. May I live in love. So again, to get you that loving kindness practice, think about what your unique needs are as the person you are in the circumstances you're in right now, and then practice that loving kindness by acknowledging those needs. May I be this thing that I need. May I have this thing that I need. This kind of loving kindness and tenderness towards ourselves can be transformative. In the same way that you are committed and devoted to those in your care, be as committed and devoted to your own good care, helping to sustain your heart and your spirit for those daily challenges of caregiving. There are some additional practices to help nurture your own spiritual health: daily reflection or journaling, and maybe you journal with some of those needs that we just talked about. Maybe that's the place that you can safely talk about those needs that you have as a unique human being who shares common humanity with others. You can practice and reflect and journal about daily gratitudes. These can be very simple things. And I wanted to share a quick list of my recent daily gratitudes. I recently lost my dog of 14 years. And so part of my daily gratitude is just share like a little memory of her and what joy she brought me. I called her my little bodhisattva. She was like a great little spiritual teacher for me. And so part of my daily gratitude is just remembering a great memory with my dog, Grace. Every morning when I leave for work, my husband has a hot cup of coffee in the car holder, in the car, ready to go. So that's a little moment of gratitude that I have in the day. And who knew that a little green tomato the size of an acorn could bring a person such joy? It's my first time to plant tomatoes, and I've watched it go from a little yellow blossom to a pea, and now it's the size of an acorn. And I'm like, I'm growing the Garden of Eden on my back porch. This is great. So that's just like a little moment of joy and gratitude that I have for those simple pleasures. And again, I wish we had time that I could go to every table and hear you say what your simple pleasures are, because that is so inspiring. Just those simple pleasures, simple joys, to say thank you. Master Eckhart said, thank you is an entire prayer. Thank you is an entire prayer. Remember to connect with others for support. We've talked about this, your faith communities, your people you work with. I am not a Facebook person, but my husband is very active on our neighborhood Facebook page. And since he's kind of a hermit, that is great for him. You know, it's a way that he connects with people and finds ways to help people in the neighborhood. You know, this is a longstanding gift of COVID, is the way that it made technology much more accessible and much more normalized as part of our everyday lives. So find ways to connect with others in all of those places. Counseling, And again, be sure you check in with your physician's offices about resources that they can refer you to, support groups, and all of those wonderful sponsors in the back have a lot of great resources for you there. I want to offer this final gentle reminder for the journey. You are enough. You are enough. The mixed emotions you have around caregiving are very natural, and your caregiving matters in ways both seen and unseen. Your caregiving matters in ways both seen and unseen. Whoops. So as a closing reflection, before I offer you a closing repair, I just want to give you these couple things. Maybe you can take a screenshot of this slide or jot some notes down for yourself. Self-care is not selfish. Self-care and self-compassion are essential to you doing all the things that you want to do as you live your good life and care for the people that you are caregiving for. So 2 things that I encourage you to reflect on in that journal or in quiet time that you grab for yourself every day. What are my needs? Remember, those are from the neck down, the things that generate in heart and spirit. What are my needs? And then practice that daily check-in, practice that loving kindness statement that gets very specific. May I be courageous? May I be kind to myself today? May I be forgiving? May my frustrations at myself ease? Don't be afraid to name your needs and then to name them in loving kindness moments. And then I'd also love it if you thought about what you would like to take with you from today. What is it that maybe you've heard here that jogs a memory or made you think about something in a new, a different way about being self-compassionate so that you can be self-caring, so that you can sustain yourself for loving your life and being present in your life as you most want to be. I do want to offer a prayer for all of you who are caregivers or who will be a caregiver or who will need a caregiver or who have needed a caregiver. So if you'll just join me in a moment of reverence for our time of being here together today, a moment of reverence for our time of just being today. May God gift you with compassion in your heart, peace for your mind, strength for each challenge, companions for your journey, courage to hope, grace for each moment, rest for each day, faith to trust in God's loving ways. Please take good care of yourselves. You are worth that. May it be so, and amen. We have some resources for you, and if you want to grab a screenshot of these things, the one book I would recommend to you, if you're a book person, the Mindfulness Self-Compassion Workbook by Dr. Kristen Neff and Dr. Christopher Germer will go deeper into some of the things. We just scratched the surface today in the time we had, so I just wanted to introduce you to those self-compassion ideas. Some of these things you already know about too, Family Care Alliance, our elder resources, National Respite Networks. The Caregiver's Companion is another helpful book. There's 2 great podcasts, the Caregiver Space Radio, Happy Healthy Caregiver. And again, I just want to lift up, as a chaplain, make sure if you are in medical facilities in Jacksonville and surrounding areas, never hesitate to ask for spiritual care support at all of those sites, because we are very happy as chaplains to respond to the needs of our patients and the needs of their families. That is critically important to us, so make sure that you ask for help from those people as well. Spiritual care. Thank you for your presence and care. Thank you for your attention to me today. I hope you will take one small step this week to care for your own spirit, and remember that caring for others always begins with caring for yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're going to open it up for question and answer. Carmen, is that okay?
Yeah. You want that one for the resources? Okay, good. All right.
If you have a question, please just raise your hand and we'll come around with the mic.
Thank you very much for your very encouraging words. My name is Tina Costin. I lost my mother this past March. What I'm thankful
sorry.
for is Baptist Age Well, or Prudential. When my mother first got here, I moved her from Chicago to here because they were over medicating her in her assisted living facility there. Baptist Age Well had a 16-week workshop for caregivers and their loved ones. We learned how to do music. We put music lists together. We painted, we drew, we colored, we crocheted, we knitted, and then COVID hit. And have we started up the workshops again? I just want to know for a friend.
I do not know about those specific things. What I do know, my work with Age Well is around caregiver support groups. What I do know, though, about Age Well is that they are always looking for ways to expand their resources and support the community. So if you had a person there that you worked with, I would encourage you to reach back out to them and just say, what are the next things? If you have access to their website or call their office, I find them very responsive, the people I work with there. So I'm sorry I don't have a specific answer about anything beyond the dementia caregiver provider support group, but I agree with you, Age Well is wonderful. What an amazing resource for our community, and I'm glad they were able to help you and your mother. It sounds like that was a very transformational relationship in the time that you had with her, and I'm sorry that you've lost her now. That's a hard one, the loss of our mothers. Thank you.
Hi, my name excuse me, is Dr. Suzanne Teat, and I want to ask you a favor because I was privileged to sit at your table when you mentioned synchronicities and other things. And, you know, they always say, put the oxygen tank first. But I would like for you to repeat your platinum rule because I'm working on some articles and P is a big thing for me. And just as an aside before you do, as a former English writing teacher, blah, blah, it always gets me when people say, can you? Like, can you go to the bathroom? You want to say, well, can you? But the fact that you said, may I be, you're giving yourself the power to give yourself permission with a higher power. So I'd like for you to repeat your platinum rule that we can remember.
Okay, thank you for asking that. And I think there is some humility in may I too, which I think is, you know, humility is important in terms of spiritual wellness. So, so everybody here has heard of the golden rule, right? Do people know the golden rule? You know what that is. Treat others as you want to be treated. So we were talking about that at the table before we began, and I asked the group at the table, have you ever heard of the platinum rule? So have you all ever heard? One person's heard of the platinum rule. So here's the platinum rule. Treat other people as they ask to be treated. Treat other people as they ask to be treated. So what you're doing then is removing what you think is best for someone else based on what you want for yourself. You're actually bringing a humility and curiosity to the relationship to find out what is important to you and how may it be in relationship with you in a way that matters to you. So the platinum rule, thank you for asking for that. Treat others as they ask to be treated.
Are there any other questions? Okay, well, thank you,
I'm so grateful
Carmen.
for you
Thank
to be
you
here
so
with
much.
you today. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
And please be sure to visit with the exhibitors if you haven't already. And thank you all for coming. We'll see you at the next one on August 8th.